sa Indonesia na hulog sa ginagawang tulay.
Nakaligtas naman kaya ang sakay ng kotse sa taas ng binagsakan nito? Ang mga susunod pong pangyayari aming ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
Malacanang pinabulaanan ng fake news sa kalusugan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Pinadeport 84 na Chinese POGO workers dumating na sa Beijing.
China at Estados Unidos naggantihan sa pagpataw ng trade tariffs.
Buong pamilya ni Siemens CEO ng Spain na si Agustin Escobar patay sa helicopter crash sa Hudson River sa New York.
At Prada, binili na ang rival fashion brand itong Versace. Pinabulaanan po ng Malacanang ang kumakalat na fake news ukol sa kalusugan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Tiniyak din ng palasyo na nasa maayos na kondisyon si PBBM.
Kami na.
Kasunod dito na nag-viral na video ng Pangulo kung saan dumugo ang gums nito habang nagtatalumpati sa isang event sa Camp Aguinaldo sa Quezon City. Dito pinangunahan ng Pangulo ang ceremonial signing ng Memorandum Order na nagbibigay pahintulot sa National Amnesty Commission na mag-issue ng safe conduct passes para sa mga dating rebelde na nag-a-apply para sa amnestiya sa kampo ng militar sa Datu Odin Sinsuat sa Maguindanao. Iginit ni Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro na magandang kalusugan ng Pangulo at ang katunayan pa niya ay nakaganap pa siya ng kanyang tungkulin.
Sa aking perspektibo, dahil nakakasama tayo mismo ng Pangulo, maganda po ang kalusugan ng ating Pangulo. Dahil kung hindi po maganda ang kalusugan ng ating Pangulo, malamang ay hindi na po siya nakakaganap ng kanyang mga tungkulin sa araw-araw.
Nakipagpulong si Philippine Army Chief Lieutenant General Roy Galido sa kanyang Vietnamese counterpart sa Hanoi noong April 7 hanggang 10. Nakasama ni Galido sina Vietnam People's Army o VPA Chief General Nguyen Tan Kong at Deputy Chief Lieutenant General Nguyen Van Ngie para palakasin ang defense ties ng dalawang bansa. Sa kanyang pananatili, pinanood ni Galido ang isang capability demonstration sa Special Forces Academy ng VPA. Binisita rin niya ang Vitel High-Tech Company, isang mahalagang parte ng Vietnamese military technology sector. Layunin po ng pagbisita na palalimin pa ang ugnay militar at pagtibayin ang kooperasyon batay sa strategic partnership na nilagdaan ng Pilipinas at ng Vietnam noong taong 2015. Nagpalitan ang mga military officials ng kaalaman, karanasan at pagtukoy ng mga oportunidad para sa pagpapalakas ng kanilang kakayahang pandepensa. Ayon sa Philippine Army, ang mga naging pagpupulong ay maaaring magbunga ng formal agreements or terms of reference sa hinaharap.
Dumating na sa Beijing ang 84 na Chinese POGO workers na ipinadeport ng Pilipinas. Ayon sa Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, kombinasyon na ito ng mga POGO workers mula sa 3 POGO hubs na sinalakay ng ahensya sa iba't ibang lugar sa bansa. Kabilang rito ang Zone 1 Technology sa Bamban Tarlac, Tourist Garden Hotel sa Lapu-Lapu City at 3D Analyzer Information Technology sa Pasay City. Ayon sa PAOK, pawang mga tourist visa holders ang mga ito at walang working permits. Magugunitan itinakda ng pamahalaan ng mass deportation sa mga foreign nationals na nagtrabaho sa illegal POGO at ang pagpapatupad ng total ban nito sa bansa.
Nakiusap po si Senate President Francis Chisa Escudero kay Senadora Amy Marcos na iwasang gamitin ang Senado bilang plataporma nito para sa personal political objectives. Sa halip niya ay gamitin ng Senadora ang pangalan, titulo at impluensya nito bilang tulay tungo sa pagkakaisa. Matatandaang sa isinagawang pagdinig ng Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs hinggil sa pag-aresto kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, ipinakontempt ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa si Special Envoy and Transnational Crime Ambassador Marcos Lacanilao dahil sa umano'y questionable nitong mga sagot. Subalit hindi pinirmahan ni Senador Escudero ang naturang contempt order na naging dahilan para magsalita si Senador Amy na ang desisyon daw ni Senador Escudero ay nagtatakda ng isang terrible precedent para sa Senado. Nanindigan si Escudero na hindi niya hahayaang magamit ang Senado maging ang Office of the Senate President sa anumang petty partisan interests, lalo na raw doon sa tatakbong mga senador sa May 2025 national elections.
Contempt is an option. Ito ang pinanindigan ni Senadora Amy Marcos sa contempt order na inisyu ng kanyang komite para kay Special Envoy and Transnational Crime Ambassador Marcos Lacanilao. Ayon sa presidential sister, wala raw karapatang palayain ang isang ipinakontempt at ito ay desisyon ng chairman ng komite. Tumanggi ring makipag-debate si Senadora o ni Senadora Amy Marcos kay Senadora Francis Cheese Escudero, sali pa ipinaliwanag niya na mahirap anyang paniwalaan ang sinasabi ng mga opisyal ng gabinete ng Administrasyong Marcos na noong March 11 lamang nila natanggap ang arrest order para kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at sa mismong araw na yun lang din sila kumilos para maaresto ito. Malinaw anya na bahagi pa rin umano ito ng grand political plan laban sa pamilyang Duterte.
Kaya nga nakakapikon na kahit ayoko. Binalikan ko pa eh. Hininto ko muna kasi nakita ko heavy coaching na sila. Kinukonsulta yung abogado. Sabi ko hayaan na muna natin. Bato, kinausap muna namin si General Torre, si Prosecutor Fadulion. Binalikan ko na lang, baka sakali, tama na yung sagot by then. Hindi pa rin talaga umaamin na alam niya na hindi talaga dinala sa husgado. Ba't siya pumirma ng ganon? Talagang napakahirap kapag harap-harapan binubola ka. Contempt kasi is an option given to the committee. Tapos pipirma yung Senate President. Hindi ko naman binida yung contempt order. Pinakita ko lamang nung tinatanong na kung bakit pinalaya. Yung pala, hindi pa niya nakikita yung contempt order, pinalaya na niya kaagad. Pambihira naman talaga. Iba na ang malakas. Kaya ayoko makipagbunuan kay Senate President, kilala naman natin siya, pero wala namang ganyanan. Kilala, anuman ang findings, ilalabas ko. Andito na tayo, ilabas na natin ang katotohanan. Ang tama ay tama, ang mali, unfortunately, ano pang tumbling ang gawin mo ay mali.
And with
At
that,
kung lumabag sa batas, paparusahan, hindi tayo papayag na paulit-ulit na linalabag ang ating saligang batas higit sa lahat.
Vinito ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang legislative naturalization ni Lee Duan-Wang na kilala rin bilang Mark Ong. Hiniling ni Lee na siya ay pagkalooban ng Filipino citizenship, subalit may mga ulat na may kaugnayan umano si Lee sa isang Philippine offshore gaming operator o POGO. Paliwanag ni Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro na sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos sa kanyang veto message na ang Filipino citizenship ay isang pribilehiyo at hindi ipinamimigay ng basta-basta. Dagdag pa niyang hindi rin ito dapat gawing kasangkapan para pagbigyan ng pagsulong ng mga kaduda-dudang interes.
Sa kanyang veto message ay sinabi ng Pangulo, and I quote, "I am unable to blindly ignore the alarming and revealing warnings raised by our relevant national agencies that find the subject grantee's character and influence to be full of ominous and dire consequences, if not of a clear and present danger." End quote. Ayon sa Pangulo, ang ipagsawalang bahala, ang babalang ito ay tila pagsuway sa ating tungkulin sa sambayan ng Pilipino.
Inanunsyo ng Meralco na magpapatupad sila ng taas sa singil sa kuryente ngayong buwan. Ayon sa Meralco, daragdagan nila ng 72 centavos per kilowatt hour ang power rates. Dahil rito, ang dating rate na 12.2901 pesos per kilowatt hour ay magiging 13.0127 pesos per kilowatt hour na. Ibig sabihin, ang mga tirahan na kumukonsumo ng 200 kilowatt hours ay may dagdag bayad na 144 pesos habang may 360 pesos naman para sa mga kumukonsumo ng 500 kilowatt hours.
Magandang balita naman po dahil good news para sa mga motorista dahil sasalubong po next week ang big-time rollback sa produktong petrolyo. Batay sa 4-day trade, posibleng mabawasan ng 3.30 hanggang 3.75 ang presyo ng kada litro ng gasolina. 2.90 hanggang 3.40 naman ang posibleng rollback sa presyo ng kada litro ng diesel. Habang 3.40 hanggang 3.50 naman ang posibleng tapias sa presyo ng kerosene o gas. Ayon sa Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, may kinalaman ang lumalalang trade war sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at ng China sa malaking tapias presyo sa oil products. May ambag din dito ang inaasahang pagbawas ng Saudi Arabia sa kanilang selling price sa mga sinusupply nilang langis sa Asia para sa buwan ng Mayo.
Susunod, Chinese President Xi Jinping magsasagawa ng Southeast Asian Tour.
China at Estados Unidos naggantihan sa pagpataw ng taripa.
At kapitan ng Chinese dark vessel kinasuhan ng Taiwan. Detalye ng mga balitang yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Each individual has their own goal. Every shot we make takes us to a whole new distance. And where the grass is green, something will definitely begin. This is the third NET25 Golf Cup, April 14, 2025 at the Alabang Country Club. For inquiries, you may contact 0951 597-5645, 0917-322-8369. The third NET25 Golf Cup is brought to you by our Platinum sponsor, our Gold sponsors, our Silver sponsors, our Bronze sponsors, our hole-in-one sponsors, our sponsors.
Join us at the International Tax and Investment Conference Fast Forward 2025, where industry leaders and experts will explore the future of ESG investing in the Philippines.
The country's already made a lot of progress in terms of creating opportunities for businesses to thrive.
If you think about ESG, it should be part of the business operation. So whether it is part of the product development.
We want to be global benefactors. No? We want to show the world that we're also contributing to betterment.
What we're after is securing a livable planet for the next generation.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Personal na bibisita si Chinese President Xi Jinping sa mga bansa sa Southeast Asia sa layuning mapatibay ang relasyon nito sa isa't isa. Ayon sa Chinese Foreign Ministry, bibisita si Xi sa Vietnam, Malaysia at Cambodia na kabilang sa Association of Southeast Asian Nations o ASEAN sa susunod na linggo. Kasalukuyang humaharap ang Beijing sa tumitinding tensyon nito sa US dahil sa pagpataw ng Washington ng reciprocal tariffs. Ito ang magiging unang pagbisita ni Xi sa ibang mga bansa upang maibsan ang hinaharap na suliranin sa ekonomiya sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaigting ng kanilang diplomatic relations sa Southeast Asian countries. Ayon sa mga eksperto, nais ng China na ipresenta ang kanilang sarili bilang isang mapagkakatiwalaang kaalyado sa ibang mga bansa. Sa kabila nito, nangako ang Beijing na lalabanan nila ang mga taripa na ipinataw ng Trump administration. Inihayag naman ng mga economic ministers ng ASEAN bloc na hindi sila magpapataw ng retaliatory tariff sa US at sa halip ay makikipag-usap ang mga ito ng masinsinan sa kanila.
Kinumpirma naman mismo ng White House na umabot na sa 145% rate ang taripa ng Estados Unidos sa ilang produkto ng China. Sa isang executive order na inilathala nitong Huwebes, nagkaroon ng codification ng pagtaas ng US tariffs na isang hakbang upang ayusin ang mga nakaraang executive order at itugma ito sa kasalukuyang 125% tariff. Ang 125% rate ng taripa ay ang pinakabagong itinakda ni US President Donald Trump. Subalit, hindi pa kasama rito ang mga naunang tariff rate na ipinataw ng Estados Unidos sa China noon. Noong unang termino ni Trump ay nagpataw siya ng 7.5% hanggang 25% tariff sa electronics, furniture, machinery at plastics na galing ng China. Kaya kung susumahin nila, lumalabas na umaabot na sa 145% tariff ang sinisingil ng Washington sa Beijing. Exempted naman sa panibagong dagdag taripa ang ilang imports kagaya ng copper, mga gamot, lumber, articles, ilang critical minerals at maging ang energy products.
Patuloy namang tumitindi ang trade war sa pagitan ng Amerika at China matapos maghiganti ng retaliatory tariffs ang Beijing laban sa Amerika. Inanunsyo ng China ang pagtaas ng kanilang taripa sa produktong Amerika mula 84% patungong 125%. Ito ay bunsod ng pagpapanatili at pagdagdag ni Trump ng kanilang taripa sa China sa kabila ng pansamantalang pagtigil ng Trump tariff sa ibang mga bansa, kung saan umabot na sa kabuuang 145% ang universal Trump tariff sa China. Tinawag ng China na ang ginagawa ng Amerika ay economic bullying at sila'y muling magkakasa ng panibagong kaso sa World Trade Organization upang labanan ang mga nasabing taripa. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pag-uumpukan ng dalawang powerhouse economies ng mundo ay maaaring magdulot ng iba't ibang suliranin sa pandaigdigang ekonomiya katulad ng pagtaas ng mga presyo ng mga bilihin.
Sinampahan ang kaso ng Taiwan ang kapitan ng barkong Hongtai 58 dahil sa umano'y pagsira nito ng undersea cable. Hinuli ng Coast Guard ang barko malapit sa lugar ng insidente at nalaman na rehistrado ito sa ilalim ng bandila ng Togo. At ayon sa mga autoridad ay sinadyang binaba ng barko ang angkla para sirain ang kable. Itinanggi namang sabihin ng kapitan na kinilalang si Wang Kong sino ang may-ari ng barko habang pauuwiin na lamang sa China ang 7 nitong kasamahan. Pinaghihinalaan ng Taiwan na isa ang Hongtai 58 sa tinatawag na dark vessels na mga barko gumagamit at pinapatay ang tracking system ay posibleng nagmamasid para sa Beijing. Ito ang unang kaso ng Taiwan kaugnay ng sinasabing planadong paninira ng undersea infrastructure, bahagi umano ng gray zone or hybrid warfare tactics ng China, kung saan ito ay non-military action subalit may layuning manabotahin na hindi naman maituturing na isang direct act of war. Itinanggi ng China ang mga paratang at sinabing isa lamang itong aksidente. Dagdag pa nilang ginagamit lamang ng Taiwan ang insidente para siraan ang Beijing.
Pirmado na ng South Korea at ng bagong Islamist government ng Syria ang kasunduan na magtatatag ng ugnayang diplomatiko sa pagitan ng dalawang estado. Dumayo sa Damascus si Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul upang pumirma sa joint communique kasama si Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani para sa formal na relasyon ng dalawang bansa. Ang kasunduan ng dalawang bansa ay para sa mga bagong oportunidad sa bilateral cooperation. Nabanggit sa kanyang dialogo ang kagustuhan na tumulong ng South Korea sa reconstruction ng Syria, kasunod ng civil war na umabot na ng 13 taon. Matatandaang matagal ng kaalyado ng Pyongyang ang Syria na dahilan upang matagalan bago nagkasundo ang South Korea at ang Damascus. Wala pa rin komento ang North Korean state media patungkol sa kanilang relasyon sa Syria. Taong 2024 din ang magkaroon ng diplomatic ties ang South Korea sa Cuba na tinuturing na dagok sa North Korean government.
Sinalubong ni impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol ang kanyang mga emosyonal na taga-suporta sa labas ng Cheongwadae o Blue House. Isa-isa pong kinamayan ni Yoon ang kanyang mga supporters at nagpasalamat siya sa hindi natinag na pagtitiwala ng mga ito sa kanya. Kusang loob na tinanggap ng dating sole leader ang desisyon ng Constitutional Court na tanggalin siya sa pagkapangulo. Kasamang umalis ni Yoon sa Blue House si dating First Lady Kim Kyun-hee. Iuuwi rin nila sa kanilang private apartment ang mga alaga nilang 10 aso at ilang mga pusa. Pinagtibay ng korte ang impeachment ni Yoon dahil sa panandaliang pagpataw nito ng martial law sa South Korea noong nakaraang Disyembre.
Nagbukas ang Ukraine ang war crime investigation sa umanong pagpatay sa 4 na sundalong dinakip ng Russian Army. Nakuha ng isang Ukrainian drone ang mga sundalong nakasuot ng Russian uniform na nakatutok ang mga baril sa mga sumukong Ukrainian soldiers. Samantala sa nakuhang Russian drone, naputol ang video sa mga sundalong nakahandusay na buhay. Pinaniniwala ang nangyari ang pagpatay sa southern Ukrainian village ng Piatkatki noong March 13. Sa pahayag ni Human Rights Commissioner Dmytro Lubinets sa social media, ang 4 na prisoners of war ay lumabas sa nasirang gusali nang nakataas ang kanilang mga kamay. Sa kanyang pagbisita sa Beijing, sinabi ni Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez na pabor ang Espanya na mas balanseng relasyon ng European Union at ng China. Ang pakikipagnegosasyon anya ang daan para malutas ang mga hindi pagkakaunawaan. Ito rin anya magbubunsod ng kooperasyon sa mga areas of common interests.
Creemos que hay oportunidades para profundizar esa relación bilateral entre España y China y entre China y la Unión Europea. Creo que es muy importante el que China sea sensible a una demanda legítima, tanto por parte de España como de Europa, de tener unas relaciones más equilibradas y, por tanto, no tan balanceadas en favor del interés de China, que es legítimo, pero que creemos que puede ser mucho más equilibrado y que redundaría en beneficio de ambos.
Layo ng pakikipagpulong ni Sanchez kay Chinese leader Xi Jinping na bumuo ng mas malapit na relasyong pang-ekonomiya at pampolitika sa Beijing. Target din ni Sanchez ayon sa analysts na iposisyon ng Espanya bilang interlocutor sa pagitan ng European Union at China sa gitna ng pandaigdigang epekto ng Trump tariffs.
Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon sa loob ng isang dekada, bumisita ang pinuno ng British Armed Forces sa bansang China. Sa pagbisita ni Admiral Sir Tony Radakian sa Beijing ay tinalakay nito o kasama ang ilang opisyal ng China ang mga issues of common concern. Ayon sa UK chief, nagkasundoan niya ang bawat panig na dapat nilang gampanan ang kanilang mga bahagi bilang mga responsableng bansa na may pandaigdigang interes sa isang mundong walang katatagan. Napag-usapan din sa naturang top-level meeting ang kahalagahan ng military-to-military communications. Obserbasyon ng mga geopolitical analysts, mahalaga ang pakikipag-ugnayan ng United Kingdom sa China lalo na at mula nang maging Prime Minister si Keir Starmer ay hangad nito na palakasin ang partnership ng London at ng Beijing. Patuloy pa rin ipinaglalaban ni Prince Harry ang karapatan nitong mabigyan ng personal security detail ang kanyang pamilya sa tuwing bibisita sila sa London. Judel Alipio po para sa detalye ng balita.
Una nang nagdesisyon ang High Court ng London na hindi otomatiko makakatanggap si Harry ng personal police security kapag siya ay nasa Britanya. Ayon sa korte, ang desisyong ito ng Home Office ay naaayon sa batas dahil bumaba na si Harry sa kanyang royal duties. Pero pumayag ang Court of Appeal na dinggin ang apela ni Harry matapos magsumite ng direct application ng kanyang abogado. Ipinaliwanag ng abogado ni Harry na kailangan bigyan ng full protection ng Duke of Sussex at pamilya nito kapag sila ay nasa United Kingdom. Ang pag-alis anya ng personal police security kay Harry at sa asawa nitong si Meghan Markle, maging sa mga anak nilang si Archie at Lilibeth, ay hindi nararapat dahil exposed ang Sussex family sa kapahamakan. Hindi rin daw sinunod ng RAVEC ang mga tamang protocol sa sitwasyon ni Harry dahil hindi raw nito kinonsulta ang Risk Management Board bago tinanggalan ng personal security sina Harry. Taliwas daw ito sa standard practice ng RAVEC. Wala namang komento ang Buckingham Palace tungkol sa apela ni Harry at wala ring ulat mula sa partido ni Harry kung bibisitahin ba nito sina Prince William at Princess Kate. Judel Alipio para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa New York, 6 ang nasawi nang bumagsak ang isang tourist helicopter sa Hudson River nitong Huwebes. Alamin natin ang mga detalye ng balita mula kay Rosel Feria.
Kinumpirma ni New York Mayor Eric Adams na patay lahat ang 6 na sakay ng isang tourist helicopter nang mag-crash ito sa Hudson River Huwebes ng hapon. 3 sa mga nasawi ay mga bata. Ayon kay Adams, ang mga biktima, 1 piloto at 5 pasahero ay pinaniniwala ang kinabibilangan ng isang pamilya mula sa Spain.
At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water. And sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased. Again, we're praying for the families and our gratitude to the rescuers and the courage that was displayed in their dedication.
Ayon sa mga opisyal, lumarga ang New York Helicopters Tour Aircraft mula sa Lower Manhattan ng alas 2:59 ng hapon. Makalipas lamang ang 15 minuto, nawalan ito ng kontrol, bumagsak ng pabaliktad at lumubog sa tubig bandang alas 3:15 ng hapon.
At approximately 3:17 this afternoon, multiple 911 calls started coming in reporting a helicopter crash in the Hudson River near the New Jersey coastline off the coast of River Drive in Hoboken. NYPD units from aviation, harbor, scuba, and patrol all responded, with our first units arriving at the site within minutes. Our NYPD divers entered the water along with rescue personnel from FDNY, Port Authority, and various New Jersey agencies. According to the manifest, aboard the helicopter were 6 people, 1 pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children. NYPD divers pulled 4 people from the crash site, and FDNY divers recovered an additional 2. Immediate life-saving measures were undertaken on the vessels at the scene, as well as the adjoining pier. 4 victims were pronounced dead on scene, and 2 more were removed to local area hospitals, where sadly both succumbed to their injuries.
Ayon sa isang opisyal, lula ng helicopter ang piloto, 2 may gulang at 3 bata. Inahon ng New York City Police Divers at ng FDNY Divers ang mga biktima mula sa tubig. 4 ang sinabing patay na, 2 ay nadala pa sa ospital subalit namatay rin kalaunan. Ayon sa Federal Aviation Administration, ang helicopter ay isang Bell 206. Patuloy na mag-iimbestiga ang FAA at ang National Transportation Safety Board. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dumating sa Russia sa United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Inaasahang makikipagkita ito kay Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ayon kay Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, tatalakayin ng dalawang opisyal ang isang pagpupulong ni Putin at US President Donald Trump. Ipinagpauna na rin ni Peskov na huwag sanang asahan na maraming taong may major breakthrough sa pakikipag-usap ni Vitkov kay Putin. Samantala, papunta rin na ang US envoy sa Oman para sa isang face-to-face talk ng Estados Unidos at ng Iran. Makakausap ni Vitkov si Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araqi ukol sa isang nuclear program deal.
Susunod, Prada, binili ng Versace.
Luka Doncic na mayagpag sa homecoming nito sa Dallas.
At China, babawasan ang pagpapalabas ng Hollywood films. Iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Each individual has their own goal. Every shot we make takes us to a whole new distance. And where the grass is green, something will definitely begin. This is the third NET25 Golf Cup, April 14, 2025 at the Alabang Country Club. For inquiries, you may contact 0951 597-5645, 0917-322-8369.
Senator Amy Marcos, matapang nasasagutin ang 25 tanong ng bayan. Ngayong Sabado na, alas 7 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi. Dito lang sa NET25.
Ako si Senator Amy Marcos. Abangan nyo ang aking sagot sa 25 tanong ng bayan. Dito lang sa NET25.
Dating Senador Gringo Hunasan, sasabak na para sagutin ang 25 tanong ng bayan. Ngayong Linggo na, alas 7 ng gabi, dito lang sa NET25.
Ako po si Senador Gregorio Gringo Hunasan. Abangan niyo po ang aking sagot sa 25 tanong ng bayan. Dito lang sa NET25.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang NET25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Nagulat ang ilang pedestrians sa China nang biglaang umandar at ginitgit ng isang kotse ang mga guardrails sa kahabaan ng highway ng Zhangzhou-Zhejiang. Mula sa nakalap na surveillance footage, dahan-dahan lamang ang pag-andar ng kotse at makaraan ng ilang segundo ay tumigil din ito. May isang individual naman ang hinabol ang sasakyan sa inakala na ang driver ay inatake ng kanyang sakit. Subalit, nang nakalapit na ito at binuksan ang pinto ng driver's seat, ay iba ang tumambad sa kanya. Isa pong aso. Abay, kaagad naman nabuwaba at tumakbo ang aso papalayo na sasakyan. Kinumpirma ng mga otoridad na walang nasaktan sa insidente. Batay sa salaysay na may-ari ng kotse, nakalimutan niyang patayin ang makina ng kanyang sasakyan dahil nagmamadali umano itong umalis. Sa kabila naman ito ay nagsagawa ng hiwalay na investigasyon ang mga otoridad.
Nahulog ang isang truck mula sa Chengdu Elevated Expressway sa Zhejiang Province sa China. Ayon sa mga otoridad, nawala ng kontrol ang driver dahil sa mali niyang paghawak sa manibela na siyang naging sanhi ng insidente. Makikita sa surveillance footage na kumabig ang truck patungo sa mga barriers at guardrails bago ito tuluyang nahulog sa siwang ng tulay. Dahil sa lakas ng impact ay wasak ang truck at nagkalat ang mga kargamento sa lugar ng insidente. Matapos ang 30 minutes na rescue operation ay nailigtas ang driver na nagtamo lang ng minor injuries. Patuloy pa rin ang investigasyon ng mga otoridad patungkol sa insidente.
Isang makapigil hiningang pangyayari ang naranasan ng dalawang individual matapos mahulog ang kanilang sasakyan sa ginagawang tulay sa Indonesia. Mula po sa nakalap na CCTV footage, biglaan na lamang sumulpot at bumagsak ang kotse sa gitna ng highway at naiwasan ng mga dumaraang sasakyan. Dumating naman ang mga medic sa crash site para bigyan ng first aid sina Rudy Heru Comandono at ang kasamahan nitong si Endang Suri Wahyuni. Ayon sa salaysay ni Rudy, ginamit niya ang Google Maps sa kanyang smartphone para alamin ang direksyon patungo sa address ng bahay ng kanyang kaibigan. Subalit, habang nasa gitna na sila ng biyahe, ay nalito siya sa binibigay na direksyon ng application. Habang nakatingin siya sa kanyang phone, ay hindi na niya napansin ang barrier at guardrails sa under construction na tulay at tuluyan na ang nahulog mula rito. Dahil po dito ay nagpatupad na ang Gresik Police Traffic Unit ng strict measures para hindi na maulit ang ganitong insidente.
Nasagip naman ang isang 7 taong gulang na babaeng estudyante matapos mahulog sa isang construction pit sa Bangkok, Thailand. Makikita sa footage ang dalagitang nahulog kung saan mayroong tubig sa ilalim nito na umabot sa kanyang baywang. Nakataas ang mga braso nito habang ibinababa ng mga rescuers ang lubid upang mahila siya papalabas. Nagtamo lamang siya ng minor injury sa kanyang braso. Dinala agad ang biktima sa ospital matapos mabigyan siya ng paunang lunas.
Nangako ang misis ng Salvadoran migrant na maling na-deport ng Estados Unidos na ipaglalaban nito na mapawakawalan ang asawa. Narito po ang karagdagang detalye mula kay Kathleen Gao.
Makikitang pinipigil ni Jennifer Vasquez Sura ang kanyang mga luha habang tinutuligsa ang Estados Unidos na anyay nandukot at kumidnap sa kanyang asawang si Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Si Abrego Garcia ay isang Salvadoran na maling na-deport ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Ayon kay Sura, ipaglalaban nito ang kalayaan ng kanyang mister.
This so-called administration error has destroyed my family's happiness, my children's innocence. Kilmar, if you can hear me, I'm still fighting for you. Your brother, your mother, our children are still fighting for you. We're not gonna give up hope. My husband, Kilmar, was abducted and disappeared by the Trump administration. It's been 28 days since I lost on my husband. Since his children hugged him, since his mother kissed him, since his brother has talked to him. Court ruled that indeed this should have never happened. The rule that my life partner Kilmar should have returned home 50 hours ago.
Nanawagan si Sura sa kataas-taasang hukom ng bansa na gawin anya ang tama.
To the Supreme Court Justice, do the right thing. History will always remember you. To everyone at home who can still hear my voice and are fighting for the return of their loved ones, keep fighting for Kilmar and all the Kilmers out there.
Noong Lunes, pansamantalang pinigil ng United States Supreme Court ang order ng isang judge na inuutos sa administrasyong Trump na ibalik bago matapos ang araw si Abrego Garcia na idineport ng mali papuntang El Salvador. Sa isang Supreme Court filing ng Justice Department noong Lunes, sinasabing administrative error man ang pagkakadeport kay Abrego Garcia papuntang El Salvador, ang pagtanggal sa kanya mula sa Estados Unidos ay hindi mali. Ang mali ayon sa mga abogado ng departamento ay ang pagpapadala kay Abrego Garcia papuntang El Salvador sa kabila ng deportation protection order na tinanggap nito noong 2019. Dagdag pa ng mga abogado ng Justice Department, si Abrego Garcia ay isang miyembro umano ng criminal gang na MS-13. Hindi na anya ito karapat-dapat sa proteksyong iyon. Itinuturing na foreign terrorist organization ng Administrasyong Trump ang MS-13. Walang pending charges laban kay Abrego Garcia. Kasal ito sa isang American citizen. May anak silang US citizen din. Itinanggi ng mga abogado ni Abrego Garcia ang kaugnayan nito sa anuman gang.
There are no charges here. And there are no charges in El Salvador. He has not been charged with a crime. And yet he sits in jail. We believe fundamentally that that is illegal. Illegal here and illegal there. If he has no charges and he's being held in prison in El Salvador, at the very least he should be released immediately there. But we feel he should come back home to his family.
Kathleen Ga para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Noong Miyerkules, isang mataas na opisyal ng Mexican Police ang pinatay ng isang US citizen sa Tijuana. Ang pulis ay kabilang sa isang elite unit na kilala bilang the Gringo Hunters na layong umaresto ng takas na US suspects na nasa Mexico. Narito ang mga detalye mula kay NJ de Guzman.
Ayon sa mga otoridad, sinubukang hulihin ng elite unit ang isang suspect sa lungsod ng Tijuana sa hilagang border ng Mexico. Nagpaputok ang suspect na US citizen at tinamaan ang 33 taong gulang na si Abigail Esparza Reyes. Si Reyes ang hepe ng unit ng Gringo Hunters sa Northern Border State na Baja California. Ayon sa mga otoridad, namatay si Reyes dahil sa tama ng bala.
Hubo una confrontación dura, detonaciones fuertísimas, pareció una confrontación, no sabíamos si era una banda delictiva en contra de las autoridades de la ciudad y se extendió alrededor de 5 a 7 minutos, confrontación durísima con altas detonaciones con un calibre fuerte, es lo que se escuchó.
Hindi pinangalanan ng Mexican Police ang suspect. Ayon sa mga ulat ng local media, nakatakas ang suspect na nagpanggap ng tagalinis. Ayon sa isang state security source, ang takas na suspect ay wanted sa US para sa salang pagpatay. Ang Mexico sa loob ng maraming dekada ay naging takbuhan ng mga takas mula sa US. Noong 2002, sinimulan ng unit na tinawag na Gringo Hunters na makipagtulungan sa mga otoridad ng US upang hulihin ang mga takas na tumatawid ng border patungong Mexico. Ayon sa mga otoridad, pinangunahan ni Reyes ang regional team sa loob ng 8 taon. At sa loob ng panahong iyon, 400 operasyon na ang naisagawa ng kanyang team. NJ de Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sa Los Angeles, California, bilang tugon sa kumakalat na pangamba sa nakapiminsalang contaminants mula sa usok, abo at debris, nag-aalok ang LA County ng libreng blood lead testing. Available ang tests na ito sa mga naninirahan malapit sa wildfire burn zones ng Pasadena or Altadena at Pacific Palisades. Narito po si Terilyn Cunanan para sa detalye ng balita niyan.
Noong Enero, libo-libo ang walang nagawa ng abuhin ng Eaton wildfire ang dose-dosena mga tahanan sa Altadena, California. At kahit ilang buwan na ang nakalipas, kasama sa iniinda pa rin ng mga nasunugan ay pollutants o polusyon sa hangin.
When we're there to pick up things, the trucks come by 10 times, back and forth, sometimes uncovered. And our house has been cleaned twice, but we still have soot and ash. So we know that the debris is coming off the trucks. It's very dangerous.
Dahil dito, nag-alok ang Los Angeles County ng libreng lead testing para sa mga residenteng malapit sa wildfire zones. Ipinaliwanag ng Los Angeles County Public Health Program Manager na si Janet Scully kung paanong maaaring mapasama sa hangin ang lead.
Historically, homes that were built before 1978 were painted with lead-based paint. And so we would expect that any home before 1978 does contain some sort of lead paint. So as those homes burned, we know that lead likely, entered the environment, whether it be the soil, the air, so on, water.
Hindi nag-atubili ang mga ito na samantalahin ang oportunidad na magpa-test.
We just can't take any chances. You can't throw caution to the wind when it comes to your health and things like that. So we just want to make sure that with all the trucks going by, they go right by in front of our home with all the debris every day, about 50, 60 trucks a day, probably each way. So we just want to make sure that we're safe. Because I want to make sure that I've got what I call precious cargo. My wife, my kids, things like that, dog, and I want to make sure that I'm here for them. So I take care of myself in doing that. So the long-term effects, they don't know yet. So I can't take that I can't laugh at that. I can't take that lightly.
I think it's more, is it VOCs? It's more things that are in the air. Whenever we go to our house site, we usually, even if we're wearing a mask, we don't want to stay there more than an hour or so because we do start coughing and there is a feeling that the site is toxic. We're still waiting for it to be cleaned. So it's important, and if the lead test came up positive, that would be canary in the coal mine idea, give you the idea that you should get further testing.
Maraming makasaysayang properties ang nasa Altadena. Subalit ngayon, tumpok-tumpok na kalat ang nakatambak habang nililinis ito ng lungsod. Ayon kay Scully, kung hindi tututukan, maaaring hindi mapapansin na nalalason na pala ng lead ang isang individual.
Some of the symptoms, especially among children, could be, stomach aches, irritability, learning disabilities, developmental delays. And those are kind of very general, and folks may not know that it's related to lead unless they get a lead test.
Ang libreng blood drives ay tatakbo hanggang Agosto. Terilyn Cunanan para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagmatigas si US President Donald Trump na ang lahat ng mga bansa ay magkakaiba pagdating sa negosasyon ng mga taripang ipinataw.
We're looking at it as one block. They've been very tough, but they were very smart. They were ready to announce retaliation, and then they heard about what we did with respect to China and others, but China. And they said, we're going to hold back a little bit. They decided to hold back. I thought they were very smart. Look, the EU is very smart, but they really have taken advantage of the United States.
Paliwanag dito ay tuturing niya ang European Union bilang isang political bloc, ngunit nais niyang makipagdiskusyon sa mga individual na bansa para sa kalakip na tariff policy nito. Dahil anya sa ipinataw na 145% na taripa nito sa China, ay tila mabilis din na gumalaw ang EU kung saan ipinagpaliban din nila ang pagpapatupad ng counter-tariff sa US.
We are satisfied that our strategy from day one has been the right one, in the sense that it has been calm, coherent, structured, patient, targeted, and at all times carried out in close consultation with our member states and industry, which has allowed a very, very striking degree of EU unity on this question. That unity is what gives us our strength at home around the world, and particularly when it comes to tough negotiations. Our approach hasn't changed. We're preparing for all outcomes. All our instruments are on the table. We want to talk to the Americans. We want to achieve deals that benefit both sides. We've offered them 0 for 0 on industrial products and goods. We believe we can reach all sorts of beneficial outcomes from both sides that would avoid the types of tariffs that we believe are harmful and counterproductive. So we're continuing all our preparations and we will continue to talk to our member states, talk to our industry, and we remain ready to engage in a meaningful way with the US.
Thank you.
Una nang sinabi ni European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen na kanilang ipagpapaliban ang retaliatory tariff sa US para bigyang tsansa ang negosasyon. Niyanig ang fashion industry kahapon ang maganap ang isa sa pinakamalaking luxury brand deals sa taong ito. Sa kabila ng ilang pag-aalinlangan dulot ng US tariffs at market volatility, binili ng Italian fashion house na Prada ang rival nito na Versace mula sa US-based company na Capri Holdings sa halagang $1.375 billion. Ang original deal umano ay tinatansyang nasa $2.15 billion, ngunit nagkaroon ng discount matapos ang ilang market turmoil dulot ng tariff policies ni US President Donald Trump. Ang acquisition na ito ay bubuo ng isang multi-million-dollar luxury fashion group na sinasabing magiging kakompetensya ng French luxury goods conglomerate na LVMH na kinabibilangan ng ilang sikat na brands katulad ng Louis Vuitton, Dior, Givenchy at Louis Vuitton na pagmamayari rin ng isa sa pinakamayamang tao sa mundo na si Bernard Arnault. Ayon sa chairman ng Prada na si Patrizio Bertelli, layon nilang ipagpatuloy ang legacy ng Versace at bigyan ng panibagong interpretasyon ng bold at timeless aesthetic nito. Mas pinahusay ng robotics company na Castbot ang kanilang humanoid robot na gagamitin para sa half marathon sa Beijing. Ayon sa tech firm, pinaunlad nila ang agility ng kanilang Castbot SE para makipag-compete sa ibang mga atleta sa palaro. Ang SE model ng kanilang robot ay modified version ng Castbot 01. Paliwanag ng kumpanya, ang SE model ay may mas maliit na frame at mas magaan ang timbang kumpara sa naunang version. Layo nito na mas pabilisin pa ang pagtakbo ng robot para maunahan ang ibang mga runners. Isasagawa sa April 13 ang inaabangang karera sa Economic Technological Development Area ng Beijing.
Naging kauna-unahang professional na male athlete si LeBron James na binigyan ng sariling Ken doll ng kilalang toy company na Mattel. Ayon sa Mattel, si LeBron ay role model sa larangan ng sports at nagbibigay ng inspirasyon sa bagong henerasyon. Ibinahagi ni LeBron ang kanyang tuwa sa Instagram kung saan sinabi nitong unbelievably cool ang naturang reimagining ng superstar athlete. Itinuturing itong milestone para sa Barbie brand na nitong mga nakaraang taon ay naglalayong ipakita ang diversity sa kanilang mga produkto. Habang may mga Barbie dolls na nakabase sa mga female athletes kagaya po sa women's tennis players na sila Serena Williams at Naomi Osaka, si LeBron ang unang male athlete at una sa labas ng entertainment industry. Sa kabila ng mga hamong ito, ang LeBron Ken doll ay isang cultural moment para sa brand at para sa atleta.
Nagbigay pugay ang mga fans ni Luka Doncic sa kanyang pagbabalik sa Dallas para sa kanilang Lakers-Mavericks matchup. Si Kyle Lara para sa play-by-play.
Pagbabalik ni Luka Doncic sa Dallas matapos ang kanyang paglipat sa Los Angeles Lakers noong trade deadline. Pinanood ni Doncic ang tribute mula sa Mavericks, isang video na nagpapaalala ng kanyang legacy na naiwan sa lungsod na unang nagbigay sa kanya ng pagkakataong magpakitang gilas sa NBA. Sa gitna ng ingay ng mga tagahanga, naging tahimik si Doncic habang tinatanggap ang standing ovation mula sa buong arena. Bagamat suot na niya ang jersey ng Lakers, sa dating koponan, humakot siya ng 45 points, 8 rebounds, 7 threes at 6 assists at pinangunahan ng Lakers sa isang dominanteng panalo na nagtiyak ng 112-97. Ang kanyang gilas sa laro ay patunay na hindi basta-basta ang kanyang kakayahan. Samantala, ang mga taga-suporta ng Mavericks ay nagpahayag ng kanilang dismaya sa pagka-trade ni Doncic. Nakita rin sa arena ang mga placards na nananawagan ng accountability.
Well, it was a little bit of both, happy and angry, but, it's nice to see some familiar faces here. I spent a lot of times with them. But like you say, it was a lot of emotions. When I woke up, I was tired. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't sleep much. I was excited about this game, and I really appreciate the fans, the way they reacted to me. I'm tired. But I'm happy. It's over. Now I can get some sleep finally. But like I said, it was an amazing experience. Like I said, the fans, the way they accepted me, cheered for me, it was just unbelievable.
Kyle Lara para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Babawasan ng China ang Hollywood films na kanilang ipalalabas bilang tugon sa taripa ng Estados Unidos. Ayon sa National Film Administration ng China, direktang konektado ang desisyong ito sa pang-aabuso umano ng US sa paggamit ng taripa at maaaring lalo raw itong bawasan ang interes ng mga Chinese na mapanood ang mga pelikulang Amerikano. Sabi sa ehensya, bagaman ito ay makikita ng iba na maliliit lamang na galaw laban sa panunupil umano ng Estados Unidos, ay maituturing itong simbolo ng hindi pagtangkilik ng China sa Hollywood culture. Sa kasalukuyan, 10 Hollywood films lamang ang pinapayagang ipalabas sa China kada taon at madalas ay malaki ang naiaambag ng China sa tagumpay ng isang pelikula. Sa nakaraang mga taon, bumaba na rin ang popularidad ng mga Western films sa China na ngayon ay bumaba na sa 5% ng kabuuang kita ng isang Western film ang Chinese market. Hindi pa tiyak kung paano maaapektuhan ng desisyon ang mga malalaking pelikulang inaabangan ngayong taon, kagaya po ng Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, bagong Superman film at panibagong version ng Fantastic Four.
Sa ibang balita, inilabas ng Sotheby's ang kamakailan nilang nadiskubre na rare blue diamond sa Abu Dhabi. Ayon sa Sotheby's, nag-debut ang tinatawag nila na The Mediterranean Blue Diamond sa Basam Freya Art Foundation. Ang diamante ay isang 10.03 carat cushion modified brilliant cut fancy vivid blue diamond na may VS2 clarity na may estimated price na $20 million. Inaasahan na isusubasta ang diamond sa Geneva sa susunod na buwan.
At inaasahan pong lilitaw sa kalangitan ang tinatawag na micromoon sa darating na Sabado ng gabi. Ang micromoon ay kabaliktaran naman ng supermoon, isang celestial event na natataon na mas malapit sa Earth ang buwan at tila mas malaki ang itsura nito kung pagmamasdan sa papawirin. Nagaganap ang micromoon tuwing nasa apogee o nasa pinakamalayong pwesto ang buwan sa orbit nito sa Earth. Ayon naman kay Elaine Blizzard, isang astrophysicist mula sa St. Michael's College of Vermont, maliit lamang ang makikitang pagbabago sa micromoon at maaaring hindi ito mapansin ng ating mga mata. Ang mga ganitong celestial events ay nangyayari ilang beses sa isang taon kapag tumatapat ang full moon. Noong Marso, isang makulay namang lunar event ang namataan kung saan naging kulay copper red ang buwan dahil sa isang total lunar eclipse. May isa pang micromoon na inaasahang magaganap sa May, habang 3 supermoon naman ang makikita sa buwan ng October, November at December. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita sa anumang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend everyone! Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Lago Flores na bumabati rin po ng happy weekend sa inyong lahat. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa NET25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. Trade war escalates. Beijing has retaliated against U.S. tariff hikes, increasing duties on American imports by 125%. And this move intensifies the ongoing trade war, threatening to disrupt global supply chains. Hudson River tragedy, a devastating helicopter crash. A New York's Hudson River has claimed 6 lives. Among the victims, a Spanish family of 5, including 3 children and the pilot.
At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water.
A legal challenge has surfaced against the handover of former President Rodrigo Duterte to the International Criminal Court. During a Senate hearing, former Supreme Court Associate Justice Adolfo Ascuna, a key framer of the 1987 Constitution, declared the surrender unlawful.
Therefore, it depends on whether you're talking about Philippine Forum or the ICC. The ICC, I believe, will follow their own procedure, whereas in the Philippines, as it is now pending in the Philippine Supreme Court, in my view, there is a violation and there will be consequences for that violation.
And the news starts now. A legal challenge has emerged against the handover of former President Rodrigo Duterte to the International Criminal Court. Former Supreme Court Associate Justice, a key figure in drafting the 1987 Constitution, declared the surrender unlawful during a Senate hearing.
Therefore, in my view, the warrant of arrest is legal. However, I believe that the surrender is not, because the surrender must be pursuant to a treaty, and therefore our own law, Section 17 of Republic Act 9851, brought back the Statute of Rome, even after withdrawal, because it requires that a surrender must be pursuant to the applicable treaty. And therefore, in this case, the applicable treaty remains the Statute of Rome.
Ascuna argued that while the ICC's arrest warrant for Duterte regarding alleged crimes against humanity is valid, the Philippine government's procedure would be flawed. He cited Republic Act 9851, the Philippine Act on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, Genocide, and Other Crimes Against Humanity as the basis for his argument.
And thus, we have to follow Article 59 of the Statute of Rome, which requires that the custodial state, namely the Philippines, must first bring the arrested person to a local court to determine 2 things: whether or not the person is really the one named in the warrant, second, whether or not the person has been informed of the charges against him or her. This was not done. Therefore, there was, in my view, a violation in the act of surrender.
Ascuna emphasized that these were required legal steps.
We go to the procedure in the ICC. In the ICC, I believe they follow what is called mali coptus bene detentus, meaning that even if the arrest is illegal, the detention can be legal. It does not automatically mean that if the arrest was illegal, the person arrested must be released. They will balance, it's a balancing act. They will balance the illegality of the arrest with the need to prosecute someone for very serious offenses under international law. And in their view, the balance weighs in favor of prosecution. They will prosecute, notwithstanding the violation of the procedure in the arrest and in the surrender, I mean. Therefore, it depends on whether you're talking about Philippine Forum or the ICC. The ICC, I believe, will follow their own procedure, whereas in the Philippines, as it is now pending in the Philippine Supreme Court, in my view, there is a violation and there will be consequences for that violation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Philippine authorities are engaged in a manhunt for those responsible for the kidnapping and murder of prominent Filipino-Chinese businessman Kong Yuan Guo. Now, Guo, also known as Anson Ke, was found dead along with one other person on a roadside in the province of Rizal on Wednesday. According to the Philippine National Police, he was reportedly kidnapped on March 29 and had been missing together with his driver. On Tuesday, investigators found the vehicle believed to have been used by the perpetrators when they kidnapped Guo. Philippine National Police spokesperson Jean Fajardo said they were looking into the motive of the murder since the perpetrators reportedly asked for a ransom but later killed the victims.
There were signs of bruises and some body injuries po doon po, at meron din pong sign ng strangulation po. Dito, as to the extent po kung gaano kalaki po itong grupo na ito, again, this incident will not be carried out by two or just two person only. So tinitingnan natin, sir, dito is grupo talaga.
6 people, including 3 children, are dead after a tourist helicopter crashed into the Hudson River in New York City. The pilot and all 5 passengers perished in the accident, which occurred Thursday afternoon. There are no survivors. Kristen Fragata has the details.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
This is where the crash occurred. You can see part of the chopper in the water. The Bell 206 helicopter departed downtown Manhattan about 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon. 15 minutes later, the pilot lost control of the aircraft and it hit the water upside down before submerging. First responders raced to the scene.
At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water, and sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased. Again, we're praying for the families and our gratitude to the rescuers and the courage that was displayed in their dedication.
I live in Jersey City, right on the Hudson River, so my windows face Manhattan. And I work from home, so I actually heard it before I saw it. I was sitting here at my desk and I heard what sounded like a series of gunshots. It was a very loud, repetitive sound in the air. So I looked out my window right here and I saw a helicopter falling to pieces. And I watched multiple pieces splash down into the river below. And I was wondering what happened. Did it get shot down? Because again, I thought it was gunshots when I first heard it. But you know, I'm putting the pieces together as I'm hearing news stories, and it does sound like I was maybe hearing the propeller smacking into something, as it was multiple sounds in a row.
New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says rescue crews arrived at the crash site within minutes. Tisch says divers handled the recovery efforts.
NYPD divers pulled 4 people from the crash site, and FDNY divers recovered an additional 2. Immediate life-saving measures were undertaken on the vessels at the scene, as well as the adjoining pier. 4 victims were pronounced dead on scene, and 2 more were removed to local area hospitals, where sadly both succumbed to their injuries.
There are no early indications of what caused the chopper to go down. The National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the crash. The Federal Aviation Administration will assist in the probe. Kristen Fragata for NET25 World News.
Meanwhile, the FAA is investigating another incident tonight at Reagan National Airport in Washington, where 2 planes clipped wings on the runway. This incident has drawn attention, especially since Reagan National has been in the spotlight for a few weeks now. And here's what we know. 2 American regional jets were set for departure when a plane on its way to Charleston, South Carolina, accidentally clipped the wing of another plane headed to New York's JFK Airport. Thankfully, no one was hurt, although both aircraft sustained some wing damage and had to be pulled back to the terminal. And get this, on the New York-bound flight, there were 6 members of Congress, all heading home for the holiday. Again, no injuries were reported. What makes this incident even more concerning is that it comes just 2 months after a fatal mid-crash involving an Army helicopter and later an American plane landing, which tragically claimed 67 lives. Not to mention a close call last month between an Air Force jet and a Delta plane. In response, the FAA has taken action by replacing the control tower managers following an incident where a supervisor even punched a controller. And they're looking into how these disruptions are affecting overall airport operations. Beijing today increased its tariffs on U.S. imports to 125%, hitting back against U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to hike duties on Chinese goods to 145%, raising the stakes in a trade war that threatens to upend global supply chains.
Beijing hit back yet again against U.S. tariffs on Friday. China raised its own tariffs on U.S. imports to 125%. It's in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to hike duties on Chinese goods to 145%. The move further raises tensions in a trade war which threatens to upend global supply chains. The turmoil unleashed by Trump's tariffs showed few signs of easing Friday. Markets tumbled and foreign leaders were unsure how to respond to the biggest disruption to the world trade order in decades. Stocks were battered this week, but saw a brief rally Thursday after Trump paused duties for dozens of countries for 90 days. But that quickly fell away as global stocks fell, the dollar slid, and a sell-off in US government bonds picked up pace on Friday. Gold is a safe haven for investors in times of crisis, and the metal scaled a record high. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to calm worried markets on Thursday. He told a cabinet meeting more than 75 countries wanted to start trade negotiations.
We're doing very well.
Trump himself expressed hope of a deal with China. But the uncertainty extended some of the most volatile trading in years. Asian indices mostly followed Wall Street lower on Friday. China's latest tariff hike also sent stocks down in Europe. The Stoxx 600 fell more than 1% on the day and was set for another drop this week, one of its most volatile on record.
Developing countries face a catastrophic economic blow from rising trade tariffs, and that is according to the UN, which warns of a potential 7% drop in global trade and a significant hit to global GDP.
We're looking at 80% reduction if this tariff escalation between China and the US continues. It will result in an 80% reduction between China and US trade. And the ripple effect of that across the board can be catastrophic because so many countries, we're no longer in a world where you have one-way trade. We're talking about 40% of goods that move are intermediate goods, which means that everything along the supply chain is going to be impacted by the change in the trade relationship. The calculations that we currently had up to before the 90-day pause is that it would result in a fall by 2040 of 0.7% in overall global GDP. And then also, the statistics are a little different. It's now between 3 and 7% overall reduction in global trade as a whole, which is huge. So the implications of that are wide-ranging. The implications for developing countries as a whole is also going to be difficult. I think one of the areas that we also need to look at is how will it impact the fragmentation across the board, the geopolitical repositioning that is going to take place as countries seek alternative markets, as they seek to look at, how are we going to survive? How are we going to manage this change, and how are we going to pivot? When you impose 37% tariffs on Bangladesh and they lose $3.3 billion per year, it's a fundamental shift in everything that they have worked towards and in their economic base, that led to them being so well developed that they could graduate from LDC status. So,
a roller coaster ride on Wall Street after a brief surge. Markets crashed, driven by deepening fears over the U.S.-China trade standoff. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
All three indices forfeited much of the previous day's gains. Growing concerns over the escalating U.S.-China trade war has dampened upbeat economic news and trade talks with Europe. Alexander Morris of FM Investments says the volatility in the market is out of the ordinary.
Everyone, investors and just bystanders alike, are seeing one of the most bizarre set of days in recent trading memory, if not for just about everyone on the street. And younger traders, investors might start to think this sort of thing is normal. It is not. This is far from normal.
Morris says wild swings in the market are prompted by tweets, something he says is not a generally accepted process. And he adds the stock market has a message for Trump.
There is one bit of signal this market is sending to the president, and really to one man, the president himself. We do not like this tariff strategy. Every bit of news can be linked back to a tweet or a direct policy item that came out which was tariff related. Hands down.
The Trump administration is downplaying Thursday's market sell-off. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says there's nothing to see here.
We had very good inflation numbers today. Oil's down. We had a successful bond market, so I don't see anything unusual today.
Thursday's market volatility is the result of Trump's latest tariffs on China and China's retaliation. As stock prices tumbled, Trump instead focused on the gains that the market made a day earlier when he announced a 90-day pause on retaliatory tariffs.
We had a big day yesterday. There'll always be transition difficulty, but we had in history, it was the biggest day in history, the markets.
Trump says he wants to get a deal with China, and he says he's optimistic something will be worked out.
I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time, and I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
Meanwhile, Trump continues to say nations are lining up to negotiate trade deals with him. And while those talks take place, would he consider extending his 90-day pause on tariffs? Well, maybe, maybe not.
We'll have to see what happens at that time.
Not knowing what will happen after the 90-day pause is making investors nervous. And there's no indication things will settle down soon. Economist Ellie Henderson of Investec says the unpredictability will be with us for some time.
We would far from say that uncertainty is over. We may have a brief pause for now with this 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, but it's still not clear what the end game is for Mr. Trump in terms of tariffs and how countries will negotiate. I think uncertainty is definitely here to stay, at least for the time being.
In Shanghai, Hong Hao of the Grow Investment Group has this take on Trump's trade war. He says Trump really believes trading partners have been unfair to the U.S., and Hao says the president figures it's time now for payback.
I think, from this angle, he's trying to extract economic rent from his trading partner, and also, he's trying to also, seeing China as one of the major U.S. rivalry at this juncture. So I think as a result, he's playing a very dangerous game, and as you can see, it's a political theater in the sense that he's trying to dramatize the extreme pressure, and so that he can get excessive rent from the opponent.
That strategy could backfire. Around the globe, nations are losing confidence in the U.S. and its currency. People don't believe America is committed to global trade. And the rest of us? Well, we wait to see what will happen as we travel these uncharted waters in precarious economic times. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol returned to his private home today from the official residence after his removal from office, with crowds of supporters turning out to greet his motorcade. Hundreds had gathered outside the gates of the official residence, where Yoon briefly stopped to hug and shake hands with supporters, some of whom were crying. He also donned a red baseball cap saying, "Make Korea Great Again," given to him by a supporter. Yoon was then driven in a motorcade from the official residence with his wife to his private apartment in a 37-story building in Seoul. The pet-loving couple will also bring more than 10 dogs and cats they own. The Constitutional Court last Friday upheld Yoon's impeachment, capping 4 months of unprecedented constitutional turmoil after his short-lived attempt to impose martial law in December sent shockwaves through Asia's fourth largest economy. At least 100 people have lost their lives as torrential rains and severe thunderstorms battered eastern and northern India, as well as neighboring Nepal over the past few days. The Indian states of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand have been hit the hardest. In Bihar alone, at least 64 people have died, with Nalanda district reporting the highest number of fatalities. 22 lives lost due to lightning strikes and collapsing structures. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, over 20 deaths were reported, with significant damage to homes and crops. Neighboring Jharkhand has also reported casualties. In Nepal, at least 8 people were killed by lightning strikes as the storm swept through various regions. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued warnings for more thunderstorms, lightning strikes, and gusty winds in central and eastern parts of the country until April 12. And authorities are urging residents to stay indoors during severe weather conditions. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Get the feeling that health shows are always telling you to eat your greens, preferably raw and without salt? Ordering you to get up off the couch and go for a brisk run instead? Or insisting you stay away from parties since they rob you of valuable sleep? Well, we're going to focus on something now that's guaranteed to make almost everybody happy. All sexes, big or small, all over the world. Handy. DW's Mira Flicka explains why sugar gets you hooked. Get set for a really sweet show. In good shade.
Sa bawat lansangan, sa bawat komunidad, may mga taong buong tapang na humaharap sa panganib upang protektahan tayo. Sila ang ating mga alagad ng batas, ang mga pulis na walang sawang naglilingkod sa bayan. Mula sa matitinding habulan hanggang sa masusing investigasyon, mula sa pagpigil ng krimen hanggang sa paghuli ng mga lumalabag sa batas, ito ang mundo ng pulisya. Dito lang yan, sa Ito Ang Tahanan tuwing Sabado at Linggo, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga sa NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Senator Amy Marcos matapang nasasagutin ang 25 tanong ng bayan. Ngayong Sabado na, alas 7 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi. Dito lang sa NET25.
Ako si Senator Amy Marcos. Abangan nyo ang aking sagot sa 25 tanong ng bayan. Dito lang sa NET25.
President Trump has signaled he does not support Nippon Steel's $14 billion bid for U.S. steel. Now, he made it clear he prefers the American steel producer remain under U.S. ownership. Take a look.
Donald Trump said Wednesday he does not want to see U.S. steel falling into Japanese hands. Though he didn't quite say as much, the U.S. president appeared to oppose Nippon Steel's $14 billion bid for its American rival.
And we love Japan, but U.S. Steel is a very special company. We don't want it to go to Japan or any other place.
Earlier in the week, Trump had ordered a national security panel to take a fresh look at the deal. He asked the group to determine whether fresh action was needed, raising hopes in some observers that the move could actually get a green light. However, his latest comments sent U.S. Steel shares tumbling in after-hours trade. The stock dropped as much as 14% before recovering some ground. Nippon Steel shares gained strongly on Thursday, though, rising along with other exporters after Trump postponed most of his new trade tariffs. Neither company responded to requests for comment on the latest news, and White House officials wouldn't elaborate on Trump's comments. First announced in December 2023, the takeover plan almost immediately ran into opposition. Previous President Joe Biden eventually blocked it on national security grounds. Trump also opposed it while running for the White House. But since taking office, he has sent mixed messages on whether his administration will ultimately block the deal.
Tesla is now selling cars in Saudi Arabia, but there's a significant hurdle. Hundreds of miles of highway without a single charging station. Take a look.
Tesla starts selling cars in Saudi Arabia on Thursday. It's a country where a 559-mile highway linking the capital Riyadh and holy city of Mecca has no charging stations. Electric vehicle sales in the kingdom totaled just 2,000 last year, according to industry data. But Saudi Arabia has huge plans for EVs that Tesla has not been able to tap. That's partly because of a feud between its billionaire CEO Elon Musk and the kingdom's powerful public investment fund. But relations between Riyadh and Musk have improved since he took a high-profile role in Trump's administration. In a coup for Riyadh, Trump is set to visit Saudi Arabia in the coming weeks in his first foreign trip. That's after asking the kingdom in January to spend upwards of $1 trillion in the US economy over 4 years. Tesla's Saudi move also comes at a challenging time for the automaker. It posted a 13% drop in first quarter sales earlier this month, its weakest performance in nearly 3 years. It was driven by a backlash against Musk's politics, rising competition and delays for a Model Y refresh.
I don't see the USA's politics as something that will impact us here. It doesn't affect us, and they have the right to do whatever they want. But for us, we care about what affects us in the Middle East region.
Saudi Arabia is investing an estimated $39 billion in developing the EV sector. But Musk has work to do in the region. Tesla's Saudi debut lags that of Chinese giant BYD, which opened its Riyadh showroom in 2024. And while it might not face angry protests seen in Europe and the US, a lack of charging stations is thought to be an issue, especially as the kingdom's summer temperatures can drain EV batteries more rapidly. Yet Riyadh has massive development plans, which include a goal of 30% EV adoption by 2030.
In a direct response to President Trump's latest tariff escalation, China announced it would restrict imports of Hollywood films targeting a high-profile symbol of American cultural exports. Take a look.
China on Thursday hit back against U.S. President Donald Trump's escalation of tariffs on imported Chinese goods, saying it would immediately restrict imports of Hollywood films. The move targets one of the most high-profile American exports. Industry analysts said the financial impact was likely to be minimal, however, because Hollywood's box office returns in China have declined significantly in recent years. Also declining was the value of U.S. stocks on Thursday. The benchmark S&P 500 stock index fell 3.5%, a day after surging on Trump's suspension of tariffs for 90 days on several countries except China. During a cabinet meeting, Trump acknowledged the market volatility occurring as he tries to resolve the disputes.
Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Trump also reiterated his desire to reach an agreement with the world's second-largest economy.
What happens with China? We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well.
Meanwhile, companies with complex and diverse supply chains spanning multiple countries from China to Germany were already scrambling to work out how they would be affected by duties and grappling with possible price hikes to mitigate tariff risks. The 90-day reprieve has only added to the confusion. Some companies, including General Motors, have built up inventory in the U.S. to get ahead of tariffs. And Federal Reserve policymakers this week said they continued to view the tariffs as a blow to economic growth that also raised the risk of higher inflation.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good night.